Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride has won dozens of awards and sold over 6 million copies since its creation. It is the most popular modern board game as it takes players on a train ride across the country while they collect cards of various types of the trains which allow them to own railway routes between different locations. The game is simple to learn but requires great strategy and tactics to win. The longer the train routes each player claims means the more points they accumulate. 9. Dominion. Dominion is a newer board game which has grown to fame in the last 10 years. Since its release, a huge number of expansion packs have been released, making the game bigger and bigger. The original game can be played by up to 4 players and focuses on deck building. It was the game that made the concept of deck building popular, as each card interacts with the others in special ways which could lead to you winning the game. Each player starts with an identical deck of cards. 8. Clue. Cluedo in some places is the #1 classic detective game which requires the solving of a crime. There is one murder with 6 suspects. The aim of the game is to determine who the murderer is, what weapon they used and what room the crime was committed in. To do this, you must make your way around a mansion into all the different rooms. Each player has been dealt an equal number of cards which have each suspect, weapon and room on them. Once you reach your room, you are to ask the player to your left if they have a particular character, weapon or room, and they must show you if they have one of the 3 cards you have asked for. 7. Battleship. It is a classic Hasbro game which requires some luck and some strategy. It is a naval-themed game which requires a player to sink all of their opponent's battleships before they get to yours. The game is played on a 10x10 grid and starts with players positioning a number of different shaped and sized ships on said grid. Your aim is to strategically place your battleships to make it harder for your opponent to discover your position. From there, the excitement begins, where you and your opponent take it in turns guessing locations on the grid where you think each ship might be located. If you have a hit, your opponent yells out and you get another turn. 6. Scrabble. Scrabble was a game invented by Alfred Mosher Botts during the 1930s, the time of America's Great Depression. Little did Botts know that his game would be a life-changer for many and would bring smiles to families who had little left to smile about. For years he analyzed popular games such as chess, checkers and bingo and came to the conclusion that word games didn't reach the same popularity as other games because there was no score. Thus, Scrabble was born. The game is simple but requires a lot of thinking. 5. The Settlers of Catan. The Settlers of Catan puts players back in history to a time of voyages and discovery. Your ships have landed on the coast of uncharted territory and its name will be Catan. Therefore, as players, you are the Settlers of Catan. Although it isn't the most popular game in the world, it is certainly up there among the best. It is of course another game based on trade and economy. The aim of the game is to take over the island of Catan, although there are no fights or eliminations of other players. Instead, the players use the island's natural resources to build cities and trade goods with one another. At the end of the game, there will be one person who has earned enough points to be deemed the dominator of Catan. 4. Risk. Created in 1957 by Frenchman Albert Lemerus, it was originally titled La Conquête du Monde, which translates to the conquest of the world. Parker Brothers then brought the game to the US and retitled it to a more appealing sounding Risk. The aim of the game, however, has always remained the same: to strategically eliminate your competitors and earn control of the board's entire territory. The game took off in the 1960s and was hugely popular among high school and university students around the globe. 3. Monopoly. Monopoly is one of the most popular games in the world. I'm sure almost all of you have played it at least once or twice, or at the very least have heard of it. Since its creation in 1935, more than 250 million versions of the game have been purchased and played by more than 1 million people. Being one of the most popular board games known to man, it was officially inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame in 1998. For anyone who hasn't played, Monopoly is a real estate-based board game played by up to 8 players. The main aim of the game is to be financially stable while simultaneously forcing opponents into bankruptcy. 2. Stratago. It is a game where 2 opponents use pieces of opposing colors, typically red and blue. Each piece has a number rank on one side which is played face down so they are unknown. When the pieces move to an opponent's square, the pieces are flipped, revealing the numbers, and the piece with the smaller number is eliminated from the game. In the case that the pieces are of matching digits, both are removed from the game. The ultimate goal is to remove all of your opponent's pieces or force them to surrender. True to its title, this game is one that appeals to strategy enthusiasts and harkens back to World War II. 1. Chess. Chess is one of the oldest and most played board games in history. Played by 2 people on a checkered board of contrasting colors, standardly black and white, and corresponding pieces. The pieces consist of a king and queen, 2 bishops, knights, usually depicted as horses, and rooks, from the Persian word for a castle tower, and 8 pawns. Each piece moves in a different direction around the board, and the aim of the game is to corner the opponent's king. The game first appeared in India around the 6th century and quickly spread to Asia and Europe. It soon became known as a royal game due to its popularity amongst the royal family and is still played exactly the same today as it was back then.